murder of her ex-husband Dan Markel because there was a custody battle. That's what this boils down to. So on the stand right now, again, key witness Wendi Adelson, not a defendant. This is the sister of the defendant. Here we go.
Were you involved in any way in the plot to kill your ex-husband?
Absolutely not.
Did you know what was going to happen, but maybe not know the details?
I knew nothing.
Is that why you went to the crime scene on the day of the homicide?
I did not go to the crime scene on the day of the homicide.
Do you know who all was involved in the murder?
Well, I learned today, but at the time, no.
Okay. Have you ever privately confronted your brother about his role or possible role in the murder?
My attorney has advised me not to have conversations with anyone in my family about the case.
But you had a close relationship with your brother at the time of the murder, right?
I absolutely had a close relationship with my brother.
And how soon after the murder did your lawyer advise you not to talk to your family about it?
In 2016.
Okay, so what about the 2 years in between? Did you talk to him about it then?
I mean, I talked to him about the fact that a murder occurred, but I guess I don't understand the question.
But you never talked to him about the suspicions you raised in the law enforcement interview that your brother might have done it?
No, I did not.
You suspected your brother could have been a part of this, right?
I suspected lots of people could have been a part of it.
But he was one of the people, right?
While I was talking with law enforcement for 6 hours, terrified out of my mind, I offered them every possible idea I could come up with.
Right, and one of the possible ideas was that your brother could have murdered your child's father.
I didn't really believe that was possible.
Was part of the plot for you to be able to have plausible deniability about this?
Absolutely not.
Is it better for both you and your brother if you don't know the details of this?
I don't even understand the question that you're asking me.
When did you first become aware that you might be a suspect in this case?
I mean, as the ex-wife, I assumed I was a suspect from the beginning.
What was your first thought when you were asked if anyone might have murdered Dan Markel for your benefit?
I thought, oh my God, maybe if I hadn't divorced him, he would still be alive. Maybe this is my fault because I complained to the wrong person. Maybe Danny gave a student a bad grade and they came after him. I just was trying to think of who possibly could have wanted to hurt him.
But you didn't say any of that before. I mean, the first thing you said was Charlie, right?
I don't think so.
Page 25 of your interview, line 5 through 15. Do you have any reason to dispute? Page 25, not 5 hours into it. You say Charlie might have done it, right?
Can I see, please?
You may. This is going to be tab 1, page 25.
What I say here is that he would never do it. Right under the highlighted part, I say, no, he would never.
Page 25, line 5 through 15. I mean, my brother, the one, his name is Charlie, the one I'm really close to. He makes a lot of jokes in that taste, and it was a joke he made. He bought the TV for me this morning that got broken, and then I was talking to him about whether it made sense to pay or fix it, or whether I should get a new one. And it was always his joke that, he knew that Danny always treated me badly. And it was always his joke. He said, I looked into hiring a hitman and it was cheaper to get you this TV. So instead I got you this TV. And you do say you don't think he would do it, but can we agree you brought up his name on page 25 of the interview?
I did.
Do you want the culpable parties held accountable for murdering the father of your children?
Absolutely. I'm grateful they're already in jail.
But not if it's your family?
It's not my family.
I mean, somebody hired him, right?
Not necessarily.
Somebody paid him.
I learned something this morning.
Yeah, me too. You didn't want him held accountable if it was your family members. Didn't you tell law enforcement that?
That's not what I told law enforcement.
What did you tell law enforcement?
I told them that the person who did this should be held responsible and that I had nothing to do with it.
Page 122, lines 7 through 12. If somebody tried to kill my ex-husband, they should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. The investigator says, regardless of who it is, and your answer is, I mean, it would be different if I thought it were my brother.
But I don't think it was my family, is what I said.
Different now, isn't it?
No, it's not different. That's exactly
different
what I
today,
said
isn't
right
it?
here. No, that's not
No
right.
further questions.
Man, we knew from the first two trials that this testimony was going to be something, and that's the legal term. It is something. There is so much to unpack here with Ms. Wendi Adelson. Luckily, Catherine Lizardo is here, Philip DeBay here. Philip, she vacillates from this, oh, I'm just too dumb to know enough information to think this might involve one of my relatives, and I'm an attorney, but I'll talk to the cops for 6 hours. I mean, what do you make of all this? Does she have a master plan somehow?
She was smart enough to pass the Florida bar and become an attorney, Michael. And one area of law that attorneys are well schooled in, right, Catherine? Tell me, on the law of admissions. You never, ever, ever admit anything, and you deny everything. In fact, one of the common trade secrets, even in my own office, when we gossip among each other, is I'm going to tell you something, but if you ever say I told you, I'm going to deny it. That's how it's always prefaced, you know, because nobody wants to be held accountable. I truly believe that even the prosecutor, Sarah Dugan, does not believe her. She just simply doesn't, even though she called her to the stand to try to prove up the motive or who she believed, who Wendi believed was the killer of her children. And I think the jury now is looking at her with great disapproval and is thinking to themselves, how could you let your own brother take the fall for a murder that you probably orchestrated and really wanted? So I think there's going to be huge blowback after this trial as against her, because she is looking more and more involved and complicit.
Yeah, it's almost like, with some of the questioning, that she's already on trial. Catherine, what do you think? Is that really going to be the next shoe to drop?
I believe so, not just her, but also her parents, because we know that the prosecution tried to subpoena them to maybe be a witness here or to interview them, but they dropped that. But as an aside, though, what I found fascinating with her testimony is that the prosecution was trying to establish she threw her brother under the bus, basically, at the very beginning of that interview. She testified that they have a close relationship, and if they do, and that's the reason why Charlie Adelson is not implicating her, they're trying to create that doubt in Charlie's mind that my sister was the one pointing the blame at me this whole time. So maybe I shouldn't be protecting her.
Yeah, the way this family dynamic plays out is fascinating. It has been from the beginning through the first two trials, and you just get the sense when you hear Wendi Adelson testify that this is not going to be over with this trial.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, and we're going to continue to follow this, of course. It is something else. And for what it's worth, the Florida bar pass rate is one of the highest in the country. That's all I'm saying. Okay, so.
This is why we all have a job.
Yeah. We're going to take a break here. Both Catherine and Philip are going to stick around, so stay right where you are. We are covering this case out of Florida. We have other legal stuff to get into as well. So you're watching the Law and Crime Network. It is good to have you along on this Friday afternoon.